Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel, I hope. Everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple share milestone first date. Golden Bachelorette couple Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple have spent the last few months keeping their engagement a secret. Now that the season finale has aired, they are free to be public with their romance. They shared one of their first public dates with fans. Keep reading for all the details. Chock Chapple shares apartment hunting update. Joan Vassos had one restriction on finding love on reality TV. She said she would never move away from her kids and grandkids in Maryland. However, she compromised after getting engaged to Chock Chapple. She's not moving to his home state of Kansas. They will split their time between Maryland and the Midwest. The couple revealed plans to get a place together in New York City where they can spend time together throughout the year. They set off to the Big Apple a few days after the Golden Bachelorette finale aired. Chock took to his Instagram story after they arrived to share an update on how apartment hunting was going. He shared a pic of Joan intently looking at her phone. "So many apartments to look at and so little time," he captioned the snapshot. One of the reasons they only had a little time to look for apartments was because they had a first date planned. In a joint Instagram post, the Golden Bachelorette couple revealed that they attended their first movie together in public. What did they see? They went to see the new Wicked movie starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Bachelor Nation fans who tuned in to Gen Tran's season of The Bachelorette saw ABC heavily promote the movie. Jen even went on a Wizard of Oz-themed date that included appearances by franchise alums Trista Sutter, Kelsey Anderson, Daisy Kent, and more. Joan and Chock's social media followers adored the glimpse into their dating life after the show. One fan had some advice to share. They wrote, "Keep strong, you two. Communicate constantly and always put you two first before anyone." Another added, "Having fun and falling in love looks good on you both." Keep an eye on Joan Vassos' Instagram to see what other first adventures she has with her fiancé while in New York City. It was a crisp autumn evening in the hills of Sonoma, and the golden hour light spilled like honey over rows of grapevines. The sky was painted in strokes of lavender and apricot, as if nature herself were raising a glass to toast something extraordinary. And something was extraordinary, because this wasn't just any date. It was a milestone first for Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos and charming contender Chock Chapple. And although both have lived rich, full lives, this particular night held something neither had quite experienced before. The promise of a new chapter blooming late in life, but every bit as vibrant as a springtime romance. The invitation. The date began with a handwritten note slipped under Joan's villa door. Classic Chock. "Meet me where the sun kisses the vines," it read. Joan chuckled. It was poetic, a little cryptic, and totally Chock. She'd come to expect a touch of whimsy from him, the man who once serenaded her with a harmonica under a full moon. She arrived at the vineyard just before sunset, wearing a flowy emerald green dress that danced with the breeze. And there he was, Chock, in a charcoal blazer and wine-colored scarf, standing beside a table set for two beneath an arch of wild roses and string lights. But this wasn't your usual bachelor-style dinner date. No, Chock had something else planned. Something personal, something grounded, something real. A vineyard of memories. Rather than starting with wine, Chock handed Joan a tiny spade and led her toward a freshly dug patch of earth near the vines. "We're going to plant something," he said with a grin. "A vine, actually. A new one. Together." Joan raised an eyebrow, touched and slightly amused. "A vine? You know we won't be around long enough to see it produce fruit, right?" "That's the point," he said. "We're starting something that'll grow beyond just us. Just like what we could be." And so, beneath a sky softening into starlight, Joan and Chock dug together, their fingers brushing in the soil, laughter tumbling between them like warm wind through leaves. They planted a young Cabernet vine and named it First Kiss, a nod to their flirtatious smooch weeks earlier that had shocked fans and made the highlight reel. As Joan patted down the soil, Chock surprised her again. From behind a nearby barrel, a local vineyard dog came bounding out with a little sign around its neck. Will you walk through this season of life with me? It wasn't a proposal, not yet, but it was a milestone moment. For both. A table for two, and truth dinner was served under the rose-covered arch. A private chef had prepared a 5-course meal, but the true feast was in their conversation. No talk of the competition, no camera awkwardness, just two people exploring the texture of each other's hearts. Joan opened up about her late husband, how hard it had been to imagine falling in love again, and how surprised she was to find herself genuinely swept off her feet. Chock, in turn, revealed something he'd never told the other men or producers, that he'd once proposed to someone a decade ago, but called it off at the last moment because it didn't feel like home. Now with Joan, he said, I feel like I've come home and found the porch light still on. She teared up. He reached across the table, and for a long moment, they simply held hands, dancing without music. After dinner, Chock didn't lead Joan to a live band or a dramatic fireworks display, though Bachelor Nation might have expected it. Instead, he pulled out a small Bluetooth speaker and played Moon River, the song from Breakfast at Tiffany's, a film they had bonded over during an earlier group date. And there, in the silence of the vineyard, the pair danced slowly, cheek to cheek. There was no rose to be won tonight. No one watching but the stars and a sleepy owl. And yet, it felt more romantic than any televised ballroom. This, Joan whispered, feels like something that matters. I hope it's the first of many, Chock said. The milestone. The next morning, Bachelor Nation was abuzz when the show's official Instagram posted a photo. Joan and Chock laughing with dirt-streaked hands beside the little vine they planted. A small wooden sign staked into the soil. First date. First vine. First time hope felt real again. Fans were quick to flood the comments. I'm crying. Literal tears. This is why the golden shows hit different. They're planting roots while most are just passing roses. Goals. Chock better make it to hometowns or I will riot. But the real surprise came during the evening recap segment, when Jess Palmer called the vineyard outing the most heartfelt first date we've ever filmed, across all franchises. He revealed that this was, in fact, the first time in Bachelor Nation history that a couple planted something permanent together during a one-on-one. It wasn't just a symbolic gesture, Palmer said. Joan and Chock literally left a living mark on this journey. What comes next? Of course, it's too early to say whether Joan and Chock will end up together. There are still roses to hand out, family visits on the horizon, and one very emotional fantasy suite week. But what's clear is this: something clicked under those Sonoma stars. And maybe, just maybe, that vineyard vine, first kiss, will grow into something breathtaking, just like the love that might be blooming between them. As Joan later confessed in a confessional, her voice trembling just slightly, I thought firsts were for the young. But this might be the most meaningful first of my life. And maybe that's the lesson Bachelor Nation needed. Sometimes the most powerful love stories aren't the ones filled with fireworks and hot tubs. Sometimes they're found in dirt under your nails, slow songs in the dark, and a simple vine planted with hope. Chock and Joan didn't just share a date. They shared a milestone, one that just might mark the first step toward forever.